Reform UK announced it could deport unaccompanied children if it formed a government, and then, within 24 hours, Nigel Farage U-turned. I'm Mike Sivier of Vox Political, and this is the latest in a pattern of events. Say something shocking to grab headlines, and then retreat when it blows up. But doesn't that tell us something fundamental? Zia Yusuf, architect of the deportation plan, said unaccompanied minors could be deported in the latter half of Reform's 5-year scheme. Farage implied women and children would be detained, then rode back to say deporting children is not part of our plan for the next 5 years. Then he clarified. Women without children would still be deported, but women with children, and I quote, aren't top of the list. In less than 48 hours, they gave us 3 different lines. And this isn't an isolated case. The same week saw Reform announce it would deport all small boat arrivals with no exceptions, a claim Farage had to retract the next day, clarifying that the quota only applied to men. In Wales, a regional spokesperson declared Reform UK would deliver net zero immigration, leave the European Convention on Human Rights, and physically turn boats around. It made a splash, but fell apart on scrutiny, not least because net zero immigration is a slogan without a working definition. Even the party's provisional manifesto tripped itself up. It promised offshore processing of asylum claims in British overseas territories. But on live radio, Farage admitted it was not terribly practical and appeared to drop the idea altogether. What emerges here is not a credible programme of government, but a pattern of stunt politics. Announce something incendiary to capture headlines, retreat when faced with questions of legality, feasibility, or morality, leave the public confused, but dominate the media cycle. The consequences are serious. This cycle erodes public trust, shows Reform has no worked-through policy framework, and exposes its reliance on shock politics over statecraft. If this is how Reform UK behaves in opposition, lobbing grenades and then scrambling to pick up the pieces, how could they possibly govern? Reform's behaviour invites ridicule. The Liberal Democrats called it a U-turn before the ink was dry. Even Kemi Badenoch, not exactly a Liberal voice, mocked Farage for not doing his homework, saying it vindicated her slower, more cautious approach. But this is how Reform UK behaves in opposition. The public takeaway is that Reform UK throws out soundbites, not policies. It is probably true that Reform UK's leaders want to deport 600,000 people, when current deportation levels are only slightly more than 10,000 per year. They are promising 24,000 new detention places in 18 months, but won't say where or how to square the £2 billion bribe fund for foreign governments with their declared policy of fiscal restraint. Every walkback shows they know their numbers don't add up, but they keep coming out with them anyway. If a party can't hold its line on essential immigration policy for more than a day, how could it ever negotiate with Brussels, Washington, or Dublin? Voters are being sold slogans, not governance. Reform UK's problem isn't that their policies are too bold or too ambitious. The problem is they don't actually exist as policies. They are stunts designed to make headlines, rile up the base, and then melt away under scrutiny. Nobody can build a government on stunts, and that is why Nigel Farage cannot be trusted with power. A Blue Sky user cut to the chase. Reacting to the news, one commentator wrote, and I quote, "Just apes what Trump does in the USA, soundbite politics designed to stir up the worst in people. Reform UK is a party of hate, division, racism, xenophobia, homophobia, and not much else. Blunt? Yes, but it's pretty close to the mark." Reform UK's playbook mirrors Trumpism almost line for line. Shock and retreat, announce something incendiary, like child deportations, and then backpedal once the outrage has made headlines. Soundbite politics. The slogan matters more than the policy detail. Stop the boats, or net zero immigration, works because it's simple and emotive. Never mind that it collapses under scrutiny. Perpetual outrage. Every row, U-turn, and contradiction keeps reform in the news cycle. For a small party, dominating attention is the goal. Farage is a veteran of this game. The trick isn't to be coherent, but to keep the spotlight on him. It would be wrong to say reform has no ideology. It does, but not in the traditional sense of left or right economics. Instead, it draws from the global family of right-wing populist nationalist movements. So we have nativism, framing immigrants, asylum seekers, and minorities as threats to ordinary UK citizens. Authoritarianism, willingness to override international treaties and rights protections to enforce mass deportations. Culture war framing, attacks on woke culture, climate policy, and minority rights, all echoing US Republican talking points. Economic opportunism, swinging between promises of fiscal restraint and massive spending pledges, depending on what plays best in the moment. This isn't a coherent program of government. It's a marketing strategy in political form. Tailor the message to inflame, retreat when cornered, then move on to the next outrage. The Blue Sky comment used strong words, but political scientists studying Europe's populist right would recognize the description. Racism and xenophobia are central to reform's rhetoric on migration. Division is strategy, always creating in-groups, the people, and out-groups, illegals, woke elites. And then there's homophobia and culture war, present in the party's framing of LGBTQ+ rights and gender ideology. This isn't just sloppy politics, it's an intentional mode of campaigning. Each Reform UK U-turn isn't just embarrassing, it's revealing. It shows a party less interested in building policy than in weaponizing attention. Announce, retreat, repeat. That's not confusion, it's the strategy. But if this is how Reform UK behaves in opposition, lobbing sound bites and scrambling after every backlash, the question writes itself. How could such a party ever govern? I've been Mike Sivier, and it's time to buy me a coffee. That means donating cash to help keep Vox Political alive. Donate more than £20 and I'll give you a free copy of my reissued first book, Strong Words in Hard Times. A new book is on its way soon, I promise. Subscribe to the video mailing list, like and comment on this video clip, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you do all that, you'll be helping keep this channel alive, and then you'll be able to see me, as ever, in the next one.